Time to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud, live, and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Happy Monday, everybody. We are loud, live, and local every morning, 6 to 9:30 a.m. with so many ways to listen to us. FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740. Check out the high def radio as well, 101.1-2. That's on your FM dial. You can watch us also on Twitter, on Twitch. We're on YouTube as well. Just go to YouTube, search for the Open Mic live stream, and there we are, live and in color. Welcome to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect, and of course Austin Pastoka. We call him the Sultan of Sound.
Oh, Mike, as I put on Twitter at Radio Guy Austin, daylight savings time can kiss my ass. Goodness, this is awful.
I love daylight savings time.
What?
I absolutely love it. I mean, yeah, you lose an hour of sleep over the weekend, but God, to get an extra hour of daylight to do fun things outside is awesome.
Mike, you go to bed at 7:30. You've been going to bed when it was daylight out already. Like, what do you mean?
That's why I've got some room darkening shades just for daylight savings time. But just in case I want to do something outside, I love it. I love it. In fact, we have a spontaneous text question that has to do with daylight savings time. We'll get to that. We want to hear from you guys throughout the course of the show. We are the People Show. It's a Game Balls and Goop Balls Monday morning. You can overreact on this Monday morning as well. You can give us a call, 407-916-8255. That's 407-916-TALK. You can also tweet us at 96.9 The Game on Twitter. We also have a bunch of polls up right now. You can go vote on Twitter at 96.9 The Game. You can also text us on our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. We have a lot to talk about today. The NCAA tournament bracket is out. We're going to break it down. We've got some NBA news. We have some NFL news. I'm going to break down the Grammys from last night. Saw my girl Billie Irish. Billie Irish won last night. Love Billie Irish. Man, is she good. Yeah.
That's not her name, Mike.
Billie Irish.
Eilish
in honor
with an L.
Oh, I thought it was in honor of St. Patrick's Day this week that Billie Irish won some Grammys last night.
Listen, Austin, baby steps. The fact that he knew that Billie Irish was a girl is a monumental leap in the pop culture growth of one Michael Bianchi.
That's very true. You've got a point.
Anyway, I'll break down all the Grammys later in the show with the help of Austin and Adam, of course. We begin every show with our Open Mic early morning inspirational quote of the day from the great Benny Lewis, who I have no idea who Benny Lewis is, but I like this quote. Quote, "The difference between a stumbling block and a stepping stone is how high you raise your foot." End quote. Anyone?
Yeah, I would say that that's a great quote, by the way. There are going to be things in your life that you can either let trip you up or help catapult you to great success. It's just going to be a matter of how much effort you put into it. If you only just sort of drag your feet on it and you say, "Oh, woe is me," it's going to trip you and take you down. If you look at it like a challenge and you raise your foot as high as you can and you put it right on the face of that issue, you springboard off that thing and become great.
Sort of like Adam's Sandlot soccer team. It's a bad team, all right? We understand that. But Adam is using the badness as a stepping stone because he had Austin filming that bad team over the weekend so they could self-improve. Is that not right, Adam?
That's right. I wanted to take a look. I mean, because sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees. When you're on the field, you think you're seeing one thing and you think you're doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And then you gotta take a step back. And listen, every college football program, basketball, soccer, every sports program, look, even youth sports nowadays, I know, I'm in the business. they use video analysis. They want to be able to see after the game, because in the moment you get caught up, you heat it up. You want to be able to go back a day later, look at it, analyze, be honest with yourself. That's the most important thing. I've already watched about 20 minutes of it, and man, 24 doesn't move around the field as much as he thinks he does. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Austin, here's what we need to do. We need to get a clip of that video that you taped of Adam's team over the weekend. Just the clip of the worst, the worst of the badness, all right?
Of me or of the team?
All of the above.
Oh, about to say.
We need to put that up on Twitter.
Mike, we lost 7-0. So, I mean, I don't know. We have that much time to edit.
All right, let's start with the NCAA tournament, the big dance. Florida State are back in the tournament. Both teams earning spots in the 68-team field. The tournament, of course, will start this week. We don't know if it will even end. All 68 teams will gather in Indiana for all 67 games beginning Thursday, ending on April 3rd through the 5th. We hope with the Final Four, but all it takes is one COVID outbreak to upend the finely calibrated plan, if you will. Multiple outbreaks could just crater the entire thing. Hopefully, we're gonna be glass half full today and just count on the fact that there's not going to be any COVID outbreaks. Of course, this isn't a true bubble. It's a partial bubble in Indianapolis. But again, let's pretend like we're going to get all the games in. FSU finished runner-up in the ACC this year. They're in the tournament for the 4th time in 5 years. They are a number 4 seed in the East region. They will face number 13 seed UNC Greensboro out of the, what conference is that? A little quiz for you guys. UNC Greensboro, they won the what conference tournament?
The Mountain East.
Not Mountain East.
Sounds right.
What are they?
That would be the Southern.
I was going to say Southland.
That would be the Southern. Well, at least you had South in
Tell
there.
you what, I was close. Had a direction in the name.
You didn't invent a conference that doesn't exist. As Austin Pistol.
The Midwestern Eastern Mountain Athletic Conference. Duh.
Anyway, here's Leonard Hamilton talking about participating in the NCAA tournament. The Florida State coach.
Oh, maybe. Nope. Computer's on the fritz still.
We're really excited about the opportunity. Last year, that opportunity was taken away from us. We had to hang a banner
Hold on,
on our
let me try
rafters.
one more time. Here we go. Ready?
Here we go. Look.
Well, I think that the mindset that we have to be in is learn from the mistakes we make. And hopefully we will be smarter and execute better going into the tournament because we realize what our shortcomings have been. I think we'll be mentally prepared. I expect us to give tremendous effort. I think we'll
all right, cut that off right spirits. Now. I liked Adam Reardon's response better. What were you saying, Adam?
We're excited to be a part of this tournament. I mean, we were robbed of this opportunity last year, and we had to hang a banner in the rafters that said would have been a 1 seed for the tournament.
All right, so Florida State plays UNC Greensboro. Should they win that game, and they should, all right, they will advance into the second round against either number 5 seeded Colorado or number 12 Georgetown, with Patrick Ewing coaching the Georgetown Hoyas. The Gators, meanwhile, they qualified for the tournament for the 4th time in 6 seasons under Mike White. They are a 7 seed in the South region. They'll take on number 10 seed Virginia Tech, of course, out of the ACC. That'll be Friday, 12:15 on CBS. Here's Gators coach Mike White talking about being back in the tournament.
I coming off a loss here, 2 in a week. We've got to probably infuse some type of confidence, some type of discussion, an open discussion with all of us to where we can put this thing behind us somehow, figure out how we can grow up as much as possible in a short period of time. See how maybe we can finish this thing strong.
Okay, the Gators did trip up the last week of the season. They lost a couple games that their spoiled fan base thought that they should not have lost, but they are back in the tournament. Mike White's been the coach 6 years. He's been in the, well, we're not counting last year. He would have been in the tournament last year. So we'll say 6 years. He's been in the tournament 5 times. I think he's done a pretty good job at the University of Florida. And again, the number 1 seeds, there were no surprises in the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga is the number 1 overall seed. Baylor, Illinois, Michigan, Duke and Kentucky aren't in the tournament for the first time since 1976. By the way, 1976 is also when Indiana finished unbeaten and won the tournament. Gonzaga trying to do that this year as well. They are unbeaten going into the tournament, and that's going to be the major storyline. By the way, Duke and Kentucky aren't in, and Michigan State and UCLA are in a play-in game. That's how different this season is. You have 4 decorated programs. 2 of them almost didn't make it, and 2 of them didn't make it at all. So this is a different NCAA tournament, no question about it. We're going to break it down as the show progresses. Straight ahead, though, we have a spontaneous text question. Also, now that Drew Brees has retired, who will be the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints? That's next on Open Mic. Open Mic. All right, it's a Game Balls and Goop Balls Monday morning. You can start texting in your Game Balls and Goop Balls to 50857. Of course, you can call them in as well, 407-916-8255. I'm going to give even though we do Game Balls and Goof Balls next segment, I've got to give an early goofball. You guys know how I feel about Rob Parker, the national radio host on Fox Sports Radio. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago. He was on the Brandon Kravitz's show In the Zone in the afternoon, giving his ridiculous takes, and again, all right, so I'm scrolling through the 96.9 The Game Twitter account this morning.
It's always
a
good thing to do every single morning at 96.9 The Game on Twitter.
Free plug.
So I'm scrolling through it, and of course, Rob Parker is on our air. He does a show with
Chris Broussard.
Chris Broussard, The Odd Couple. It's on every weeknight. I think what is it, like 7 or 8 o'clock it comes on?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's on every weeknight, and Rob Parker is just one of these guys who says things just to say them, all right? Whatever the popular opinion is, all right, he gives the other opinion just to get clicks. And again, clickbait central, all right? All right, let me see. I want to get these word for word, all right? I want to get his clickbait takes word for word. Let me see if I can find them real quick. I thought I had them written down here during my show prep because I wanted to rip Rob Parker here. Okay.
You're doing great, Mike. You're doing great.
Doing great. Yep. Doing great. Rob Parker. Anyway, all right. Here's one of them. You ready for this one?
Yep.
NCAA tournament will be more interesting without Duke and Kentucky. All right. So there's number one. All right. NCAA tournament will be more interesting without Duke and Kentucky.
What's wrong with that?
Okay. It's just not. It's not true.
What do you mean it's not true?
true?
It's an opinion.
Okay.
What does that mean? It's not true. It's not true to you.
He doesn't believe. It's one thing to have an opinion. It's another thing to have an opinion that the guy doesn't believe. All right.
So is that must be the headline, right? That must be the headline you took from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what it says. That he'd have to give some extra. And if it's about like, hey, we get to pay attention to what Gonzaga's doing now, who's out there on the West Coast that we don't, all of us here on the East Coast haven't seen a game yet, but they're undefeated. And hey, this is the first time.
People are still going to be paying attention to Gonzaga. If Kentucky, Gonzaga's, whether Duke and Kentucky's in the tournament or not, Gonzaga was going to be the major story. People were going to be paying attention to them. They're the number one overall seed.
If Duke and Kentucky were in and their game was on at the same time as Gonzaga's first round game is on, you think more people are watching the Gonzaga team than are watching Duke and Kentucky?
Yeah, no. I do.
More people are watching Duke and Kentucky than Gonzaga.
You mean if Duke were playing Kentucky?
Well, no. If Duke was
individually,
if Duke is playing against St. Mary's and Gonzaga is playing against St. Joe's, more people are watching Duke.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
So this does give us the opportunity to really devote the attention to teams like Gonzaga, Baylor, who's up and coming, Michigan, the resurgence of that program. I am at least that's going to be my most interesting.
Again, if you want to be like Kravitz, if you guys want to be like Kravitz and defend Rob Parker's contrived clickbait ridiculous takes, here's the other one.
Okay.
Rob Parker, Steph Curry's ridiculous 3-point shots have ruined the NBA. There you go. All right. Yeah, I'm sure he really believes that. That's a bunch of garbage.
Mark McGuire's home runs ruined Major League Baseball way back in the day.
It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, the takes he has.
Rob Parker's like officially old now, because there was somebody in Rob Parker's shoes at one point who said, this slam dunk thing's ridiculous. I mean, it takes no skill to throw the ball down through the middle of the cylinder.
Okay, how would you defend that take, by the way? Because you tried to defend his.
Listen, that one is not as good, but the first one is a fine take. Okay.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a ridiculous, contrived clickbait trait. take.
Well, I guess to Rob Parker's defense, now if I'm trying to play devil's advocate, and I've not read either piece, but it may be about the rules at the NBA and how you can't hand check outside the perimeter, and now 3-point shoot. These are basically uncontested jump shots for the most part, and you don't get the physical. Remember when the Heat and the Knicks would play against each other, and you had a chance for a fight?
Miserable to watch. It was miserable to watch.
I watched a clip the other day of Larry Bird so upset with Bill Laimbeer, he literally threw the ball as hard as he could at his face. We don't get that anymore. Because the NBA is no touch. There's no touching in the NBA anymore.
Okay, but still, it was, besides players losing their temper and throwing the ball at each other, watching that style of play was miserable to watch. It was almost unwatchable when the Knicks were mugging everybody with Charles Oakley. I mean, that was unwatchable basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but Mike,
man, you want to talk about clickbaity headlines and bad takes? Would Tiger Woods have dominated Bryson DeChambeau and today's young guns? Man, I can't believe that Rob Parker. Oh wait, that's Mike Bianchi.
Actually, the weird part is Mike doesn't agree.
First of all, we asked the question. All right, we didn't state it as fact.
You stated a fact that Tiger Woods wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah,
that's contrived.
That's his opinion. That's his opinion.
Oh, so he can have an opinion, but Rob Parker can't?
I think what's interesting is that Rob Parker says that the 3-point shot has ruined the NBA, and but we did a show about how these fast up tempo offenses are ruining college football.
Ooh, what's your explanation on that, Mike?
What?
Remember when you said the up-tempo college football rules and all that has ruined the game, or it's ruining the game?
Yeah,
the game
because football was meant to be played with a huddle. That's how football began. All right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
The NBA wasn't even. It didn't have a 3-point line when it was designed, so it was supposed to be played without a 3-point shot.
But you're But the basis of the fast break in football is to try to get your play in so quick that the defense doesn't have the right personnel on the field. To me, that's almost an unfair advantage. You're just going fast to try so the team can't get its play ready. Yeah. Okay, you go ahead and defend Rob Parker if you want to, Austin.
Mike, if you want to yell at yourself in the mirror and call Rob Parker a hack or whatever you want to do, but when you're just looking in a mirror, man, this is the thing, Mike. I want you to just realize that you are in the same business of getting the most clicks.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Why not?
I don't contrive my takes. Rob Parker doesn't believe his takes. Austin, get that through your thick head.
What?
He doesn't believe his takes.
How do you know that?
He doesn't believe his takes.
How do you know that?
I know Rob Parker. The guy's been fired multiple times, all right?
Does that mean what do you mean for these ridiculous takes? He isn't fired for ridiculous takes.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Then how's Stephen A. Smith still? Yeah. How's he getting jobs and keep getting raises? That guy's takes are the worst.
No, Stephen A. Smith's takes aren't. Stephen A. Smith's takes, like for instance, his Dallas Cowboys takes. Those are him like a shtick. It's a shtick that he is playing to be funny.
Have a shtick. Yeah.
No. He's doing that as part of almost humoring the Dallas Cowboy fans. Rob Parker actually spews these takes as if he actually believes it. He doesn't believe his takes. I know he doesn't.
I used to tell people all the time, I believe everything I say, but I word them in a way that will upset you. This is when I first started radio, and I thought that the idea was to chap everybody if you could, you know what I mean? And then maybe that's what Rob Parker does. Believes what he says, but then words it in a way that gets the Mike Bianchis and I'm sure thousands, maybe even hundreds of that, maybe even millions of other people as upset or just sort of incited, if you will. And I think that's by design. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that he does have some clickbaity takes, but somebody has taken the clickbait.
Yeah,
us.
I didn't click on him. I just
read them out on radio for people to go click on for themselves.
I probably convinced a lot of other people to click on him.
That's right.
You're probably right about that.
Yeah.
All right, up next, our thought-provoking daily poll. Can the Gators and Seminoles make a deep run in the NCAA tournament? Also, we're going to get to our spontaneous text question. That's next on Open Mic.
Hey, this is Frank Caliendo.
Pretend to be Charles Barkley, so don't be a knucklehead.
Yeah, maybe do a little John Madden or a little Spider through Y Banana. I'll tell you what, you're listening to Open Mic, man. These guys are unbelievable. What's Open Mic?
I'll tell you what Open Mic is. Open Mic is a big fan of a Hard Rock Hotel on Daytona Beach. If you are looking for the perfect beach getaway, I have found it. I was there a couple weekends ago. Man, I wish I would have been there this weekend. It was so nice outside. It's just an hour's drive from downtown Orlando. It's right on the beach. You never have to leave the hotel property. There's a spa on site. There's a health club. You know the Bulldog likes to pump up even when he's on vacation. The beach is right in front of you, by the way. They have a resort pool with bars, restaurants overlooking the pool and the ocean. I've told you, the service is incredible. And like all Hard Rock hotels, Open mic thought-provoking daily poll brought to you by March Madness. It's back, and you can experience it right here on FM 96.9 The Game, your home for the NCAA tournament. Our coverage is powered by Westwood One. All right, here's the thought-provoking daily poll question. We can spend a little bit of time on this. Will FSU and or the Gators get through the first weekend of March Madness? Obviously, this is the most unpredictable March Madness probably of all time. Probably of all time, because again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who's going to have COVID issues, who's not going to have COVID issues. We already have some high seeds in the tournament who may or may not be able to play. Virginia, for instance, had to bow out. They bowed out of the ACC tournament because of COVID issues. Duke bowed out of the ACC tournament because of COVID issues. Of course, Duke did not make the NCAA tournament field. But again, it's going to be an unpredictable tournament. We don't know who's going to advance, who's not going to. Hell, Gonzaga could lose in the first round for all we know. All right, probably not. FSU should win their first round game. Everybody agree with that. UNC Greensboro, even though UNC Greensboro won the Southern Conference tournament, FSU should win that game. But if they win that game, then they play the winner of the number 5 seeded Colorado will probably win their game. So it'll probably be FSU versus Colorado. Then we'll see what happens. The Gators, meanwhile, they are a 7 seed. FSU is a 4 seed, by the way. The Gators are a 7 seed. They play 10 seed Virginia Tech in the first round. The winner of that game has to play the winner of the number 2 Ohio State versus Oral Roberts game. Oral Roberts, a 15 seed. So I think if chalk holds up, the Gators will be out in the second round. Mike White, that will be the 3rd straight tournament that Mike White has went out in the first weekend. How much will Gator fans be all over Mike White if he goes out again in the first weekend, Adam Reardon?
Well, I mean, unfortunately for Mike White, he's one of those guys that followed a legend, and it is very difficult to follow that guy because even when you do well, it's not well enough. And so for Mike White, going out, before the weekend is over, isn't acceptable to Gator fans. Though, if Gator fans are being honest with themselves, Billy Donovan, who's the greatest basketball coach in that school's history, had a great recruiting class which led to back-to-back national championships. Without that recruiting class, take that recruiting class out of the mix. How disappointing was Billy Donovan's runs in NCAA tournaments? When you think about losses to Manhattan, now obviously that all gets wiped away when you win a couple of national championships. But without that team, without that group, the 05s, or was it the 04s? I can't remember what they were.
Well, he did make it to the national championship game one other time early in his career. But you think about those losses to Manhattan. God, I want to say there was a couple of other early exits from the tournament. And I think he went. I think Billy Donovan may have went 4 or 5 straight tournaments, losing in the first weekend.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Which, by the way, if you really break down the numbers, you take out the Mike Krzyzewskis, a majority of coaches that get to the NCAA tournament multiple times probably go out in the first weekend. It just is what it is.
Again, maybe I'm in the minority here. I think I am because, we had Chris Harry on was that Friday? And he covers the Gators for FloridaGators.com. And I asked him, the Gators lose Keontae Johnson, their best player early in the season, during that frightening collapse on the court up in Tallahassee. He hasn't played all season long. And, the Gators lose him and they still make the tournament. I think the Gators and Mike White have done a hell of a job to make the tournament this year, especially after what they've endured with the COVID issues, with the Keontae Johnson scare, all of that. And again, Mike White makes the tournament every year, except for his first season. He's made the tournament every year, would have made it last year if there had been a tournament. But I don't know what Gator fans want. I mean, do they think that the Billy Donovan back-to-back national championships, that's not ever going to happen again? It's not going to ever happen again.
Well, you
okay?
know what the problem is the fact that Florida Gator fans don't really watch the Florida Gator basketball team until this time of the year. I mean, that's how it is for just about everybody. Nobody really cares about their basketball team until this time of the year. And so for them to then see they lose 2 games to end the year, they're going into the tournament and not expected to win it all. They're like, oh man, this team hasn't come anywhere.
But I think the problem with Florida fans is this, and you know, again, I was pretty close to the program and around their fan base for a long time. I think that they make up their mind way early on a coach, whether it be football or basketball, and they sort of stick to that. I remember Ron Zook getting the job, and before that guy could even get into Gainesville, they were already ripping the hire. We don't like this guy.
Yeah, there was already the FireRonZook.com website before he even landed in Gainesville.
But Gator fans have been like that. That is their history. That is their track record. And I don't think that Mike White has ever gotten sort of the all right, let's see what this guy's got. Because if you look what he's got, minus the first year, the guy's been in every NCAA tournament.
Goes to the Elite Eight in his second year, and then he's been to the tournament every year. Yes, he's lost in the first weekend, but still, at least he's getting to the tournament. Hell, Leonard Hamilton, who everybody's celebrating now, as they should, he went 6 years at Florida State. His first 6 years, he didn't even make the tournament, for crying out loud. Mike White's at least making it every year. Anyway, you can go vote on our thought-provoking daily poll and all of our other polls at 96.9 The Game. Straight ahead, a goofball for Austin Pistolka's college team, the Nebraska Corn Cluckers. That's next on Open Mic.
Open Mic with Mike Bianchi
We got flops all over the place.
It's time for Game Balls and Goofballs on Open Mic.
All right, text in your game balls and goofballs to 50857. You can give us a call, 407-916-8255 if you like. I'm going to start out with a big, fat, chicken, lily-livered goofball to Austin Pastolka's alma mater. Remember when Scott Frost was the coach at UCF and they wanted to take on all comers? We'll play the big boys. We welcome playing the big boys. That's what Scott Frost was like at UCF. Now Scott Frost has turned into the coach of the Nebraska Corn Chickens.
Whoa!
Or should I call them the Nebraska Corn Cluckers? Or maybe we should just call them the Nebraska Corn Cowards. All right?
Goodness.
Because the Corn Cluckers, the Corn Cowards, the Corn Chickens, whatever you want to call them, Oklahoma, they have a game scheduled with Oklahoma for next season. A historic game marking the 50th anniversary of the game of the century when top-ranked Nebraska beat number 2 Oklahoma 35-31 in Norman. Oh, they were going to make a big to-do about the 50th anniversary of this game. It was going to be on national TV, and everybody was going to be fired up about it. But now, according to the Lincoln Journal-Star, Nebraska wants out of the game. They want to duck out of the game.
Well, Mike, these are unprecedented times.
Oh,
okay?
good
Nebraska's
Lord.
just trying to get another home game on the schedule, get some money back, some revenue back.
Against who? Al's
okay.
Barber College?
Listen,
Or
we'll
Pinky's
take on anyone as long as it's at home.
Yeah, sure. Pinky's Cosmetology Institute? Is that who you're taking on?
I mean, will it be a home game? And then, yeah, we'll take them on.
Yeah.
These are unprecedented times, Mike.
Tell me you're not defending your corn chickens here. Please tell me.
What? No, I mean, listen, they're looking out what's best for the University of Nebraska.
God.
Okay?
Adam, how shameful is this?
Well, because I remember when this was a rivalry game that you got every year in the
Big 12.
Big 8,
Big
Big
8,
12, and then Nebraska went to the Big 10, and then they ended the rivalry game. Which is one of the historically speaking, and maybe young people won't believe me now, but
Tom Osborne versus Barry Switzer.
In the 1980s, are you kidding me? This was just about as this really was Florida State, Miami back in the early 80s. That's what this game was. And the fact that they had
they want to resurrect one. All they want to play is one game, maybe two. I don't know if did Nebraska get or were they supposed to get a return game?
I would, because if this was on the road, unless this was a neutral site game, then I'd imagine it was a home and home. But I bet you if you go back to when this series ended, whoever was the coach at Nebraska at the time was like, listen, this is ridiculous. These two teams should play every year. This belongs on our schedule. This is a game that we should win every year, blah, blah, blah. Or Oklahoma would say that. And now it's getting there, and then the coach at Nebraska is like, I don't know if we really want this game.
Why are you guys immediately putting this on the coach and not on the AD? Because last time I checked, the coach didn't schedule the games.
Well, okay. Yeah, but Bill Moose, who's the AD, first of all, ESPN tried to contact him about this, and he didn't return their text message.
Oh, shocker.
You know why he didn't return it? Because it's hard to text with those little chicken fingers that he has, those little chicken claws.
He can't open his iPhone with those feathers. It takes a fingerprint.
Anyway, so they get a goofball, in my opinion. Also a goofball. My God. This prep announcer, right? So there was this announcer, speaking of Oklahoma, there was an announcer announcing a live stream of an Oklahoma girls high school state tournament game, all right? So while he's live streaming this, he not only curses during the live stream, he used a racial slur as one of the Oklahoma girls teams kneeled during the national anthem. Austin, you've edited this so the slur is bleeped out, right?
Yes, I did my absolute best with it.
Okay, here's what it sounded like.
We will be right back here live after the national anthem, ladies and gentlemen. It's not? They're green and white. Oh, they're kneeling. I hope Norman gets their ass kicked. Are you serious? That's Midwest City, man. Kneeling. Isn't it? Huh? Norman. Yeah, I hope they lose.
Okay, so you couldn't hear it very good, but he said they're kneeling, expletive them. I hope Norman gets their ass kicked, and then he said expletive, and then the racial slur.
And it's racial slur. Let's be clear at what it is.
The racial slur.
It's the one that we all know that.
Okay, but here's the racial slur is the biggest goofball of them all, but his excuse, all right, so the guy's name is Matt Rowan, all right. In a statement in which he apologized, Rowan, who owns and operates the streaming service, or should we say the former streaming service, probably now, OSPN, he obviously gets the major goofball for the racial slur, but the double goofball is for his excuse. He said he's a diabetic and that his blood sugar levels caused him to make the remarks.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah,
What?
quote, I will state that I suffer type 1 diabetes, and during the game, my sugar.
Oh, my gosh, I can finally use it.
Yeah.
Type 1 diabetes.
I've saved that for a year.
I forgot that.
I will state that I suffered type 1 diabetes, and during the game, my sugar was spiking, Rowan said in a statement. While not excusing my remarks, it is not unusual when my sugar spikes, disoriented, and often say things that are not appropriate as well as hurtful, blah, 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 blah.
Get out of here.
What crap?
Get out of here. Like, this guy's making me want to have type 1 diabetes so that I can just walk around saying things that I'm not supposed to say all day. Oh, no. I'm sorry, diabetes. Look, it's not Tourette's syndrome, dude. It's diabetes.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You just blurt things out as a diabetic. At least I've never encountered that.
Man, again, big fat double goofball for this guy. By the way, game ball.
Wait, what was the name of that company? I got to dump that stock. Hold on. What is that?
OSPN.
Yeah, OSPN. Yeah. Not ESPN, OS.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, game ball to that same Norman High School girls basketball team. They ended up winning the Oklahoma 6A state championship game. So they get a game ball. Game ball, obviously, the Florida State for winning or for getting into the NCAA tournament. All right, Adam Reardon, I want you to comment on this. I'm giving, obviously, a lifetime game ball to Marvelous Marvin Hagler, the great middleweight boxer who died over the weekend at the age of 66, back in the day when boxing was huge, all right, especially the middleweight division. Man, I remember the Marvin Hagler-Thomas Hearns fight. It lasted less than 8 minutes, but it was epic. It was epic, 8 minutes of boxing. Hagler was bleeding, didn't even know he was bleeding, all right? He was bleeding, got cut. They were thinking about stopping the fight, and he just annihilates Thomas Hearns in the third round, and that was a great fight. But here's what I always admired about Marvin Hagler, Adam Reardon. So it was a couple years after the Hearns fight, and he fought Sugar Ray Leonard, all right? And it was a controversial decision. Sugar Ray spent essentially the whole fight running away from Marvin Hagler and jabbing him and scoring points with jabs, all right? And again, it was a controversial decision. A lot of people thought Hagler won the fight. Sugar Ray Leonard won the fight. Marvin Hagler was so disgusted, he never fought again. He never fought again. In fact, a couple years later, Sugar Ray was trying to get a rematch with him. And Marvin Hagler told Sugar Ray Leonard, get a life. I'm done. Get a life.
Yeah, a couple of things.
What about Marvelous Marv? Yeah.
I'll tell you a couple of things. You mentioned the Hearns fight. It's still probably the greatest first round you'll ever see. Normally, guys come out there and there's a couple of jabs, the feeling out process. There was none of that. That was old school 8th grade. Meet you at the bike rack. Two dudes just throwing down because they just didn't like each other. And then, as you mentioned, and Hagler was hurt in that first round, and then comes back and stops Tommy Hearns in the third round. It's probably the greatest 3 rounds. If you ever want to turn somebody on to boxing who's like, listen, I don't want to watch 12 rounds. No. Here's 3 rounds. You won't be disappointed. From second number 1 to the last second, that's one of the greatest fights of all time. And then Hagler, who, you're right, was victim of the stardom of Sugar Ray, because Sugar Ray did jab, move, and then he was
the darling, and plus he was the darling
because he was an Olympic gold medalist, and he would throw like a combination with like 10 seconds left in each round, and would steal these rounds at the very end. And
he would do like the Ali shuffle and
wave his arms. No, he was. Yeah, he definitely doctored that up. But Hagler, who moved to Italy, spoke fluent Italian, went on to become a movie star over there. You knew that, right? That he was a movie star over in Italy. They absolutely loved him over there, and I want to say it was his birthday less than a month ago. Just sad news this weekend from the boxing community. One of the all-time great. And you brought up the middleweight. Weight class. At one point, that was recognized as the greatest fighter in the world. If you were the middleweight champ, that means you had the power, the speed, the fitness. You had everything. You were the greatest fighter in the world at some point. The Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yeah, you had Hagler, Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran was a middleweight back then. That was an awesome division, and boxing was huge back then. It was huge. That was essentially, that era was really the end of boxing being huge in the 80s, really.
That was, because that was ESPN Wide World of Sports. That was kind of right before the emergence of pay-per-view you'd have some closed circuit fights, but pay-per-view then took over, and sort of, instead of being able to tune into ABC on a Saturday night and watch Ali fight, you had to pay $60 to watch Mike Tyson fight, and that changed it for a lot of people.
All right, let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, the home of Orlando City Soccer Club.
Hey, how about a game ball for Tom Brady? All right, not that he needs any more game balls.
That guy needs more and more pats on his back.
Yeah, here's another pat on the back for Tom Brady. So he signs an extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the weekend, or at least it was announced that he was going to sign an extension. All right, so it's a 4-year contract extension, and again, I don't understand how any of this works, but it voids to a 1-year extension, and by doing that, Brady allows the Buccaneers to save $19 million against the cap this year. Well, that $19 million is going to hopefully allow the Buccaneers to sign outside linebacker Shaq Barrett, who's one of their defensive stars. And, of course, the Bucs are trying to bring the band back as much as they can in full force next year. So, again, it looks like Brady's extension and his willingness to renegotiate his contract will get Shaq Barrett back with the Buccaneers. So that's a big time move if they can get Shaq Barrett back. They've already got Chris Godwin back. They franchised him. They re-signed Levante David. Now Gronk obviously will probably come back as well. Ndamukong Suh, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette. We don't know about those guys yet. But if they can get Shaq Barrett, the other guys are sort of they would be sort of icing on the cake. If they can get Shaq Barrett, they've got the nucleus of their Super Bowl team back. Would anybody disagree with that?
No, I don't think there's any question about that. And they're very, very important to keep those defensive pieces in place, in my opinion. And then what a luxury for any team that's ever had Tom Brady that you happen to sign the one NFL player who's not the predominant breadwinner in the family. So for him, like, to take less money constantly, like he always has, or defer money for way down the road, which he'll never, ever get, so that he can continue to sign quality players and that team can have quality players on the team surrounding him, happened in New England all the time, and he's doing it again in Tampa Bay. What a great luxury. What a perfect storm for any franchise that's had Tom Brady, because sure, he leaves money on the table, but again, he goes home and his wife makes more money than he does, so it's not like he's needing the scratch around the house. So it's just to me, it's the best part of Tom Brady, and what makes Tom Brady a Super Bowl champion multi times over is because he's always taken less money. We see NFL quarterbacks who have signed the largest contract in NFL history. How'd that go for you 3 years later when your team is absolutely depleted of talent around you?
And Brady's still winning Super Bowls.
That's right.
Game ball to Justin Thomas for winning the Players' Championship. He was awesome over the weekend. I watched a bunch of that. That guy was, you want to talk about ball control and ball striking, all of that. That guy did it all. Bryson DeChambeau. God, did you see the shot he hit yesterday? I think it was the fourth hole. All right. He had some weird hybrid club out. All right. He gets a goofball for this, by the way. And he was in the hunt, but he takes this hybrid out, and I swear to God, it looked like me or you out there on the golf course. He topped the ball. All right. Topped it. And it was a worm burner, all right? It went about 140 yards. It just rolled in the water. Yeah. It was one of the worst shots I've ever seen a pro golfer hit.
Mike, I told you this last week when we were all singing the praises of the guy who's going over the water 280 or 312 yards. I go, yeah, that's all great when it lands. But when it goes into the water, now we're going to start looking around asking questions. Going, dude, you finished 2 strokes off the lead. That was dumb. That was really
he wasn't trying to hit the ball over the water. He just topped it.
No, but I'm saying, but he swings out of his shoes constantly. Again, I don't think that what he is doing, and which was successful last week, is sustainable long term. And we were sort of getting ready to sort of ascend this guy. I'll give a game ball to Lee Westwood. Lee Westwood finishing second for the second week in a row. This is great because he gets the second biggest paycheck, but he can still go out to eat in a restaurant and have almost nobody recognize him. It's fantastic. That guy's got the best of both worlds.
Guy's never won anything, though. Never won a major. Never won the Players. He
wins the bank account battle, though. That guy is just cashing checks every single week. And like I said, for some of these guys, Bryson DeChambeau can't go eat at Chili's today. He can't do that. Lee Westwood walks in there and they're like, yeah, sir, it's an hour wait. And he's like, but I'll just finish second in the tournament.
2 for 1 beers today at Chili's. 2 for 1 everyday beers at Chili's. All right, let's do a little front page of the internet.
What you reading there, honey?
It's very exciting stuff, you see. It's the front page of the internet.
Here we go. It's the front page of the internet this morning. We start off on YouTube's trending page, where Mr. Beast sitting atop YouTube's trending page, which is a constant at this point. Mr. Beast with a video that has 20 million views. He's offering people $100,000 to quit their job.
Yep. Get this guy on the line right now. What are you talking about?
He walks in to like McDonald's. He walks into all of these different businesses and just says, I have $100,000 cash. Will you quit your job right now? Shocker, everyone quits their job.
I was going to say, who is working at McDonald's that isn't quitting their job for $100,000?
Yeah, you quit your job at McDonald's and you immediately take the $100,000 and then go find a job at like Burger King or something like that. You just pocket the $100K. Congratulations.
No, you don't do that. You buy $100,000 in GameStop and then become a billionaire.
Now we're talking.
Bitcoin.
Dogecoin, man.
I don't know about that.
All of it in Dogecoin. Happy birthday today to a rapper that I am sure Mike doesn't know, but I think that I believe you would know, Adam. Lil Dicky.
Oh my God, he's fantastic. Dave,
yes, star of the show Dave, based on his life, which has a season 2 coming out, by the way. I'm very excited.
funny.
For it. Fantastic show. How old is Lil Dicky?
I love the early Little Dicky when he was just Tiny Dicky. I'm gonna go. Little Dicky's gotta be. He's gotta be 36.
God, he might be around that. He may. I'll go 35. I'll go under.
He's 33 years old today.
Mike would love him. Mike, he has probably his most popular song way back when was about being frugal.
Oh, I love that song.
Got to spend that money.
Got to save that money.
Got to save that money. Yeah, his video is all about like how he's going to make this huge rap video without spending any money. So instead of buying like a McLaren car, he's like negotiating with the McLaren dealership. Can I just borrow your car for like 2 minutes? I'm going to shoot this rap video.
Love that guy.
He goes to like rich people's houses
in Beverly Hills.
And he's like, "Hey, can I borrow your house for like 10 minutes
so I could just shoot this rap video for 10 minutes?" And finally, this little Jewish lady's like, "Yeah, sure."
It's fantastic. And then trending all across Reddit, Twitter, the Grammys last night.
Billie Eilish getting it done. Billy, way to go, Billy.
Billie Eilish got Record of the Year for Everything I Wanted. The Grammys were for the girls last night. Taylor Swift went home with Album of the Year for Folklore.
My girl Taylor.
There you go. Yeah. And Beyonce became the most awarded female artist in the show's history last night. So incredible stuff for the Grammys. Ton of fun to watch, and people talking a lot about Megan Thee Stallion for her ultimate hot girl red carpet walk. That's what people are talking about, and that is the front page of the internet today.
Ooh, man. Yeah. Taylor Swift, one of my favorites. Again, I was listening to her when she was just Taylor pretty fast. I mean, then she became
Wow.
Swift.
Yeah. Goodness. Back when she was just Taylor, kind of quick.
Yeah. Now she's, next phase of her career, Taylor Rapid.
Whoa, man.
Yeah. All right, straight ahead, it's the sound off coming your way on Open Mic.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Brought to you by Bracket Mayhem. Test your bracket skills and see if you can land yourself a life-changing amount of cash. Fill out the perfect bracket for your shot at $1 million. It's Bracket Mayhem at 969thegame.com/contest. Austin?
Well, I think that the mindset that we have to be in is learn from the mistakes we make. And hopefully we will be smarter and execute better going into the tournament because...
I coming off a loss here, two in a week, we've got to probably infuse some type of confidence, some type of discussion, an open discussion with all of us to where we can put this thing behind us somehow, figure out how we can grow up as much as possible in a short period of time. See how maybe we can finish this thing strong.
So that's Leonard Hamilton and then Mike White, coaches of Florida State and Florida, respectively, both going out on a loss heading into the NCAA tournament. Leonard Hamilton obviously not on the hot seat. Mike White seemingly perpetually on the hot seat. What do you two expect from FSU and Florida heading into the NCAA tournament?
I have no idea. I have no idea what to expect from anybody in this NCAA tournament. Now, you would think Florida State is going to win their opening game against UNC Greensboro, but then they would have to play either Colorado or Georgetown in the second round game. The Gators, meanwhile, again, the Gators are only a 7 seed. They take on Virginia Tech, which is a 10 seed. Hell, Virginia Tech could beat Florida in the first round easily. And if the Gators win their first round game, then they would probably play Ohio State, the number 2 seed, in the second round. So I don't really see the Gators getting through the first weekend. I do think Florida State will. I hope they will anyways. But again, this tournament is so unpredictable with so many teams in the tournament that we didn't expect to be in the tournament. So many teams out of the tournament that we didn't expect to be out of the tournament. Most unpredictable tournament in NCAA tournament history.
What do you think, Adam?
Well, yeah, I expect Florida State to play well. I think they're ready. I mean, again, what they missed out on last year, I think Leonard Hamilton will have that team ready. I think they're a quality team. I will say this, that if Florida State and Georgetown both win and that's the round, the matchup in the second round, that will not be a fun and entertaining game to watch. That will not be an offensive, matchup for the kids. As far as Florida's concerned, just win game number 1. All right. If you can win game number 1, sort of uphold your seeding. That's always sort of been my rule for coaches. Did you uphold the seeding? Yes or no? That means if you're a 7 seed, then I want you to beat the 10 seed. If you lose to the 2 seed in the second round, hey, that's what's supposed to have happened. Just don't lose out on seeding. Don't let a 10 seed beat you. If he loses in the first round game and fans are unhappy, then for me, I'm okay with fans being unhappy about that because that means that you underachieved in the tournament.
He's not getting.
No. I just said if fans are unhappy.
He's not getting fired.
Yeah, no, I don't think that.
I feel really good out there. I don't feel like any hiccups or anything like that out there running around or anything like that. I feel comfortable out on the field, seeing the field. Still trying to get to a point where the offense is second nature. I feel like the only way to get there is just continuing to get in my playbook and continuing to get those reps and not just live reps, but mental reps when other guys are taking reps. So just continuing down that path but I feel very confident out there.
Mackenzie Milton of FSU meeting with reporters for the first time this season after practices have happened, being asked questions not necessarily about his leg, but more about how he's handling the offense. Mike, it's good to hear Mackenzie Milton talking football rather than injury updates, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. And again, we're probably not going to know his injury status until there's live contact. Now, he's got 4 other guys he has to beat out. If that leg does hold up, though, he should beat these guys out. I mean, Jordan Travis, Chubba Purdy, Tate Rodemaker. I mean, those guys aren't nearly as accomplished as Mackenzie Milton is. But yeah, it's good to hear Mackenzie Milton talking football. But obviously, when he starts getting contact, that's going to be going through his mind. Will the leg hold up? And that's what everybody's going to be looking for.
After 15 years in the Saints and 20 years in the NFL, our dad is finally going to retire. So we can spend more time with us. Yay!
So that was Drew Brees' kids announcing his retirement on Instagram. Oh, so cute. But my question for you, Adam, is Jameis Winston primed for that starting spot in New Orleans?
I would think so, but Taysom Hill's there. Remember last year when Breeze was out, we kind of thought that Winston was going to slide in there. That wasn't the case. I'd love to see him with the opportunity there in New Orleans to see if he can sort of resurrect his career, but sort of get it back on track. We know that on the plus side, Jameis Winston's a really good quarterback, and on the plus side, I mean yards, touchdowns, slinging it around the air. He can do all that. On the negative side, he throws a lot of interceptions. Maybe slings it around the yard too much. Can somebody reel that in? And if somebody can get him to cut his interceptions in half while keeping the offensive production up when it comes to yards and touchdowns, then that'll be a pretty damn good quarterback in the NFL. I'd like to see him get that opportunity. I hope he does, but we will see, because they got another guy on their roster that I saw just restructured his deal as well, Taysom Hill, who they had given sort of the first crack at this.
Sound off. Needs the Eagle hole out for Lee Westwood's Players' Championship hopes to stay alive. Stands over it in a sun-soaked fairway. Westwood flips the wedge through it, up into the sky, turning it over from right to left. He's staring this one down over the top of the flag. Stick's going to pull spin, but it's going to pull spin to the left side of the green and come to a stop without going down. And with that miss, that means that Justin Thomas is the 2021 Players' Championship winner.
Justin Thomas wins the Players' Championship. And Mike, real quick, what'd you think of the tournament overall?
Again, I love the Players' Championship. When I lived in Jacksonville, I used to go to it. It's a great time out there. It's the tournament itself, I thought was great. Obviously Justin Thomas, one of the top golfers in the world. It was, this guy, as he said, has had a crappy couple of months. Everybody remembers a few weeks ago, he was in, I think it was one of the World Golf Championship events where he missed the putt and he muttered a homophobic slur under his breath that was caught on the boom mic, and he lost a sponsor because of that. Another sponsor sort of threatened to pull out. So for him to come back and win the Players' Championship, that was, it was Kyle Larson like almost.
Sound off.
That's sound off for today.
That is the sound off. All right, straight ahead. I want to get back into this Drew Brees story with a historical what if. What if Nick Saban had chosen Drew Brees? That's next on Open Mic.
More Open Mic up next.
Cowardly, gutless, and wrong.
This hour on 96.9 The Game is powered by Dr. Phillips Center Front Yard Festival. On sale now at frontyardfestival.org.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers built for business and powered by Intel Core processors. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more. All with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast, free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Again, that's 877-ASK-DELL.
Cancel culture. Now they want to ban Dr. Seuss books. Watch Newsmax TV as it exposes cancel culture's dangerous agenda. Tune into Newsmax TV for blockbuster shows with Greg Kelly, Grant Stinchfield, Rob Schmidt, and more. Newsmax TV is on all major cable systems.
spend more time with his family and them. Yay!
Do you think Tom Brady's
Yay.
kids are furious? You know, why doesn't our dad want to come be with us?
Well, Drew Brees already has a new job. He's going to be working for NBC Sports during their Sunday night football telecast.
So this is the Urban Meyer. I'm going to spend more time with my kids. I'm going to quit this job just so I can take a different one.
Yeah, I think they're grooming Drew Brees to take Chris Collinsworth's place on as the color guy on Sunday Night Football. I think Collinsworth only got a couple more years left, and then they'll just move Drew Brees into there. Anyway, so I love historical what ifs, all right? And everybody who's a Dolphins fan remembers back in 2006 when Nick Saban was the head coach of the Dolphins. And Nick Saban and the Dolphins had two choices at who they were going to bring in as their starting quarterback. They had Drew Brees coming off of what was believed to be serious shoulder surgery after he ended his tenure in San Diego. So he was a free agent coming off shoulder surgery. And then you had Dante Culpepper, former UCF quarterback, who himself was coming off a serious knee injury. All right. So the Dolphins had a choice. Who were they going to sign? Dante or Drew? And they chose Dante. They chose Dante. Now, according to Nick Saban would say years later that, we wanted to sign Drew Brees, but he didn't pass our team physical. In fact, I dug up a quote during the break here. We thought Drew Brees was an outstanding player, Saban said, and that's who we made the first offer to. Quite frankly, he didn't pass the physical with our organization, so we had to go in another direction, and there was nothing any of us could do about that. Well, I guess there is something you could have done about that. You could have done what the Saints did. They signed him, right? Could have done what the Saints did because they signed Drew Brees. Maybe their doctors he passed the Saints physical. I don't know. But anyway, the Dolphins did not sign Drew Brees. They chose Dante Culpepper. Culpepper, again, what did he play? He played 4 games for the Dolphins. He threw 2 touchdown passes, had 3 interceptions. He won 1 game. I think he got re-injured as well. So how would history have been different if Drew Brees had signed with the Miami Dolphins? Maybe he's a failure in Miami. Who knows? Maybe the Dolphins just weren't the type of organization. Maybe they didn't have the offensive-minded coach like Sean Payton did in New Orleans, and maybe he flops with the Miami Dolphins. But what if he's a success? I love what if questions. Like Nick Saban might not be the greatest coach in college football history if he'd have signed Drew Brees, right? He might still be the coach of the Dolphins.
Yeah,
crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, you could make that argument that with that type of quarterback, you'd be more successful as an NFL coach. And heck, even if Drew Brees plays for a year or 2 and it prolongs his NFL career, maybe the Alabama job's not open when Nick Saban becomes reavailable to the college football world, or maybe at that point, the NFL experience isn't such a bad one where when Alabama opens up, he doesn't ditch the Dolphins for them. Is really the way it happened.
Isn't it amazing, how just fate can change the entire history of a coach or a sport, even like college football? The entire history of college football would have been changed if Nick Saban had been successful with the Dolphins with Drew Brees as his quarterback. But my favorite what if is if Howard Schnellenberger had stayed at the University of Miami all those years ago.
Mine is the Butch Davis one. If Butch Davis stays at Miami instead of taking the Cleveland Browns job, he had that program, humming. I mean, so much so that Larry Coker is a national championship head coach in college football because of what Butch Davis did at Miami.
Okay, but there would have never been a Butch Davis if Howard Snellenberger
Well, Howard
had
wouldn't have been
Miami.
coaching for that many years.
What are you talking about? He coached FAU till he was like 90.
That's like the career victory lap, though. That wasn't like, him coaching high level stuff.
But if Howard Snellenberger had stayed at Miami, the guy would have he would have been the Nick Saban. He would have been Nick Saban.
Probably.
He would have won Jimmy Johnson's national championships. He would have won Dennis Erickson's national championships. I mean, how many is that? Dennis Erickson won two. Jimmy Johnson won one. Howard won one.
It'd been four.
He would have, and again, you wouldn't have had the turnover of coaches, which means everything would have been humming along. Maybe he wins even more though, because there's not the turnover and the change of staff and recruiting and all of that stuff. So hell, he might have won 6 or 7 had he stayed, because there wouldn't have been all of the the instability within the program with all the coaching changes.
And on top of that, if they win all those national championships, like we're saying, they're probably dominating Florida State. This coach Bobby Bowden probably gets fired in the mid '80s.
Right?
Bowden's no longer the most beloved guy in the state of Florida.
It is amazing. I asked
what's that called? The butterfly effect, right? That's the idea that the butterflies flapping wings can cause a tsunami halfway around the world.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked Howard Snellenberger one time when was this? This is when he first took over at FAU way back when. All right. And I asked him about that career decision. Everybody remembers what Howard did. He left Miami to go to the USFL. The USFL was going to have a Miami franchise. All right. Well, he leaves Miami. They bring in Jimmy Johnson, and the USFL folds before Howard ever coached a game. Didn't get any of his money from the USFL. He ends up going to Louisville, where he had some success, and then he ended up getting fired at Oklahoma. Then he ended up at FAU. So I asked Howard one time about the move, the decision to leave Miami, and his quote was, "It was a horse bleep decision, okay? It was a horse bleep decision." Yeah. Career-defining decision for Howard Snellenberger. And Nick Saban luckily made a career. Actually, you could say Nick Saban, it's a good thing he didn't choose Drew Brees, right? Because if Nick Saban had chosen Drew Brees, he would have probably been a okay NFL coach, but now he's the greatest college coach in history. So he actually made the right decision by choosing Dante, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, when all things considered, this all worked out pretty well for Nick Saban.
Yeah, I'd say he wasn't going to go down as the greatest NFL coach in history, even if he'd chosen Drew Brees. All right, straight ahead, we're going to get back into some NCAA tournament talk. That's coming your way next on Open Mic. Also, text in your game balls and goop balls to 5 Welcome back to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect, and Austin Pastolka, the sultan of sound. Together we are Open Mic, the troika of sports talk radio excellence in the megalopolis we know as Central Florida. Give us a call, 407-916-8255. Tweet us at 96.9 The Game. You can also text us on our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. Text in your game balls and goof balls. It's a game balls and goof balls Monday morning. We want your game balls and goof balls from the sports weekend. Somebody just texted in a game ball and a goof ball. Let's see, a double game ball to two legends who passed away this weekend, Marvelous Marvin Hagler and F1 commentator Murray Walker. I don't know who Murray Walker is, but F1, I guess he's a legendary F1 racing commentator. Everybody knows who Marvelous Marvin Hagler is, one of the great boxers of all time, one of the great middleweights back in the 80s when the middleweight division was the division of choice among the millions of boxing fans in all of the United States of America. Now there are literally thousands of boxing fans in the United States of America. Actually, I guess there's still millions of boxing fans, isn't there?
Yeah, it was a big fight this weekend. Game ball to Juan Estrada, who beat Chocolatito in their rematch.
Who?
Yeah, these are Chocolatito one time pound for pound #1 in the world, but that gave goofball to the sport of boxing, who had to suspend one of its judges because its scorecard in that fight was so off from apparently everybody else's line of thinking that they had to suspend the judge to do an investigation. But could end up with a third fight, so that'd be good.
Yeah, we gave a huge. Well, actually, we gave a double goofball to the announcer.
Oh God,
this high school announcer who I guess he has a live streaming service in Oklahoma where he live streams high school games. All right.
Used to.
Well, yeah, he used to after.
Do we know if it's used to? Or if he, or
well, this just happened, but I can't imagine that folks are banging down his door to get.
Anyway, so this guy's he's live streaming high school basketball, the high school basketball state tournament in Oklahoma. All right, and one of the teams, this is a girls' tournament. One of the teams, Norman High School, their players kneel for the national anthem. So the guy who's streaming the games, he goes to break, all right, because of the national anthem. He's going to commercial break, all right? But I guess he didn't really go to commercial break. He didn't know he was on a live mic. And Austin, do you have the clip?
We will be right back here live after the national anthem, ladies and gentlemen. It's not north. It's not? They're green and white. Oh, they're kneeling. I hope Norman gets their ass kicked. Are you serious? That's Midwest City, man. Kneeling. Isn't it? Huh? Norman. I hope they lose.
Okay. So if you didn't understand that, he said they're kneeling. Expletive F-bomb them. I hope Norman gets their ass kicked, and then expletive racial slur. The racial slur. As Austin said earlier, the #1 racial slur. The broadcaster who made the remarks later identified himself as Matt Rowan, all right? Obviously, he gets the major goofball for the racial slur, but he gets a double goofball. This is the worst excuse I think I've ever heard, all right? He said, well, let me just read you his quote. I will state that I suffer type 1 diabetes, and during the game, my sugar was spiking. While not excusing my remarks, it is not unusual when my sugar spikes that I become disoriented and often say things that are not appropriate as well as hurtful. I do not believe that I would have made such horrible statements absent my sugar spiking. End quote.
Type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, he's blaming his type 1 diabetes for uttering the racial slur and those other profane remarks about a high school girls basketball team. Which, by the way, that same girls basketball team, Norman High School, ends up winning the girls' Class 6A state championship in Oklahoma.
Hate it when those symptoms of diabetes also include exposing your racism.
Yeah.
Right? Good Lord. Really? I mean, I would have said nothing before I said it was my diabetes that caused me to do that.
Hey, be sure to call your doctor if you suffer from headaches, nausea, and racism.
I think I might be diabetic. Why?
Well, I'm a little bit racist.
This guy, this guy here. It blows my mind that this was the excuse that he. I mean, really, you're right, Mike. The best thing would. I don't know that there was a best thing to do.
Just say nothing.
Get in your bunker and understand the bombs are going to fly for you. I mean, your career. I mean, you probably built, and I know because I'm sort of in this industry as well.
Yeah. You tape high school athletics, right?
Youth sports. Yeah, I deal in youth sports predominantly, and at that point, once you just can't.
What's the name of your company?
National Sports Broadcasting. It's my partner Brian Morgan started it, and then I run the soccer side of it, and he's heavily in the equestrian side, and then Austin's our video
expert.
One of our.
No, I thought Austin was going to do the cheap plug.
Cheap plug.
Goodness!
Cheap plug.
Wow.
Cheap plug.
That was more like I was just answering a question. You were setting me up for the cheap plug.
That was such a smooth, cheap plug.
I was setting him up for it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing that you'll never hear my voice on it or one of our camera people. Now, I can't control what the parents and the coaches say. Now, but and that's one of the worries for coaches sometimes is like, hey, does that pick up audio? And I'm like, yeah, it does. So you got to be careful,
especially if you have type 1 diabetes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Better be really careful. Yeah. So, anyway. All right. Text in your game balls and goof balls. Obviously, we're talking a lot about the NCAA tournament this morning. This is going to be a completely different tournament than any of us are used to. Obviously, it's going to be held in one spot, a partial bubble in Indianapolis. Florida State, both in the tournament. Don't know how those teams will do. They both ended up losing in their conference tournaments. Florida State loses in the finals. Florida loses in the semifinals of their conference tournament. Again, a different tournament. Kentucky and Duke not in the tournament for the first time since, what did I say, 1976?
1976.
First time Kentucky and Duke together have not been in the field since 1976. 1976, by the way, is also the last time we had an undefeated team in college basketball, and that was the Indiana Hoosiers under Coach Bob Knight. Well, now we have a chance at another undefeated team. The number 1 overall seed in the tournament is Gonzaga. They are unbeaten coming into the tournament. Mark Few's team, again, they are trying to make history in this NCAA tournament. We shall see if it happens. And again, we're trying to be positive. All right, going into this tournament, but there are no certainties in a COVID NCAA basketball tournament. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. The tournament's going to start this week. We know that, all right? 68 teams, but what if there's a COVID outbreak? That's going to ruin all the plans. If there's a COVID outbreak, if there are multiple COVID outbreaks, it could shut the entire partial bubble down. Again, we're trying to be positive here. We hope that doesn't happen, but that's what everybody's going to be talking about. There's no question about it. Everybody, we played the clip from Mark Few, the Gonzaga coach, last week because Duke had to leave the ACC tournament because of a COVID outbreak. And Mark Few even said, that's our worst nightmare. Can you imagine if you're Mark Few with an undefeated team and you have a couple of cases of COVID and boom, you're out of the tournament? Good Lord.
Well, and just I mean, this uncertainty that we have. I mean, because think about if a team gets bounced in the first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of their players tests positive. But he was just on the court 2 nights ago with the team that won. At that point, do those guys become quarantined? Because they had contact with them. And with the contact,
yes.
I mean, so really, and because all these players are in such close quarters, I mean, really, one COVID outbreak could kibosh an entire, mini bubble, if you will. And I mean, we are with fingers crossed that we don't have to watch a team bow out from the NCAA tournament. The way that we've seen them bow out from their conference tournaments, like a Virginia, saying, "Hey, listen, I know we won, but we're out because of COVID." Duke did that. We've seen that, and you just hope
Virginia and Kansas are both in the field, and both of them are coming off COVID outbreaks within their program. So,
well, yeah, I mean, again, now if I remember correctly, I mean, at least I can tell you this for high school, that anybody who was quarantined for 2 weeks. So if they took themselves out of their tournaments because, oh, by the way, we've discovered COVID, how are they possibly playing within a week?
I guess enough time has passed for those two teams. And again, I don't know exactly when Kansas when Kansas discovered the COVID plagued players on their team. I don't know when exactly Virginia discovered it, but they're both in the tournament as of now. They're both in the field. All right, let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, W245CL Deltona. This is FM 96.9 The Game.
You feel that?
I can feel it.
We're about to blast off.
Just hook it to my veins!
It's time for the blast.
That's right, it is time for The Blast, and The Blast is brought to you by Frank Gay Services. If you need an electrician or a plumber and you need them right now, go to frankgayservices.com. They will hook you up, get you rocking and rolling. frankgayservices.com. It's time for the Open Mic Thought-Provoking Daily Poll, which you can vote on Twitter at 969thegame. Will Florida State and or the Gators get through the first weekend of March Madness? Your options are FSU will, Gators won't, FSU won't, Gators will, both will, or both won't.
You know what? I'm going to be the prince of positivity today. They both will. All right? They both will. Florida State, they should have probably won the national championship last year. They're going to come into this tournament with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to blow out UNC Greensboro in the first round. Then you know what? They're going to say, bring it on, Colorado. They'll play Colorado in the second round. They'll blow them out and head to the Sweet 16. The Gators, on the other hand, the Gators are a 7 seed. They play in the first round against, who do they play in the first round? They play Virginia Tech in the first round. They'll win that game, all right? SEC is better than the ACC this year, in my opinion. Gators win that first round game, and then, that's right, they take on Big Ten powerhouse Ohio State, the number 2 seed in the second round. They win that too. That'll shut up Gator fans about Mike White, their coach, won't it?
All right, I agree with Mike. Florida has won their last 7 first-round games, okay? The last 7 first-round games they've played, Florida has won. That would put them squarely in the crosshairs of Ohio State. And look, I've been around the Florida sports programs long enough to realize that if there's one thing that is a guaranteed lock, is that Florida's going to beat Ohio State in something. They always beat Ohio State. Remember when they beat the Greg Oden team?
Yeah.
And Mike Conley Jr. in the national championship. They beat him in the Fiesta Bowl when they were decided underdogs.
Had the Heisman Trophy winner.
That's right, Troy Smith. Florida would beat them, yes, and they go through to the second weekend. And then Florida State's just better than the 2 teams they're going to play. They're going to go through.
With 48% of the vote, FSU will, but the Gators will not.
And weird part is, Mike, those are Gator fans voting on that one.
Right.
Supplemental poll number 1. Now that Drew Brees has announced his retirement, will Jameis Winston be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints next season? Yes or no?
I'm going to say he starts the season as the starting quarterback. I don't know if he'll finish the season, but again, Taysom Hill is the guy who replaced Drew Brees when Drew Brees was injured last year. I just don't know if Taysom Hill can be a full-time starting quarterback in the NFL. If Taysom Hill can be a full-time starting quarterback in the NFL, and if he's successful as a starting quarterback in the NFL, then Tim Tebow was about 10 years too early, all right? Because if Taysom Hill can be a success, so could have Tim Tebow. But I think Jameis Winston, obviously the better passer. Sean Payton's loves to throw the football. I think Jameis Winston will be the starting quarterback next year.
I'm just reading it on TV. Jameis Winston heading into free agency?
He did only sign a 1-year contract.
So he's a free agent. So.
He is. 64% of the vote says no, he will not be. Are you in that camp, Adam?
Heck, he may not even be on the team, what I'm reading right now. Heck, he's not even, he's going into free agency. I guess that makes Taysom Hill the guy with the inside track at this moment. At least he's definitely on the roster.
Maybe this is leverage, though, for Jameis Winston. Hey, if you think you can win with Taysom Hill, you go right ahead. Otherwise, I'm going elsewhere.
Yeah, Jameis Winston has leverage. Sure, yeah.
Maybe.
Supplemental poll number 2. If Nick Saban had chosen to sign Drew Brees instead of Dante Culpepper when he was coaching the Miami Dolphins, would he have ever become the greatest coach in college football history? Yes or no?
Okay, we talked about this earlier. That was 2006 when Nick Saban was the coach of the Dolphins. The Dolphins had a choice, either sign Drew Brees or sign Dante Culpepper. Both those players were coming off of injuries. Dante had the bad knee. Drew Brees had serious shoulder surgery. And the Miami Dolphins team doctors said, no, we cannot sign Drew Brees. He's not going to pass the physical. And they ended up signing Dante Culpepper, who played all of 4 games for the Dolphins. Yes, if he'd have signed Drew Brees, they would have been at least more successful. Nick Saban probably would have stuck around and missed his window of opportunity with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Therefore, he would not have been the greatest college coach in the history of college football.
The only guy who made out better in that whole thing, that whole situation, than Nick Saban and Drew Brees each, is the guy who did his shoulder surgery. Can you imagine being the guy who advertises yourself as, hey, I'm the guy who fixed his shoulder, when NFL teams thought that it was too big a risk, and then he went on to become one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Yeah. You got shoulder issues? Come to me. I'm that guy. I'm the guy who fixed Drew Brees.
Well, you know who it was.
Was it James Andrews?
I think it was Dr. James Andrews.
Yeah. Not that guy needs any further affirmation.
He doesn't need any more business, okay?
Right. With 73% of the vote, no, he would not have become the greatest coach in college football history. We'll just skip over supplemental poll number 3. So we'll go to supplemental poll number 4.
What was number 3?
Definitely wasn't the Nebraska one.
Oh.
We're definitely we're not skipping that.
All right. Supplemental poll number 3. How chicken are the Nebraska Corn Huskers for trying to drop a game with the Oklahoma Sooners this season? So chicken! Pretty chicken or not chicken?
So chicken. I am so ashamed of Scott Frost, the former UCF coach. And again, when he was at UCF, he was bold. He was daring. He was dashing. Look at Frosty on the sidelines leading that undefeated UCF team. That UCF team that wanted to take on all comers. And now he's the coach of the Corn Cluckers, and they are running scared from Oklahoma. Unbelievable what's become of Frosty since he left UCF.
Well, I will say this, that with all the financial strains in college football over the last year. Unprecedented times.
Yeah.
I mean, teams have to look at ways to make sure that their bottom line is taken care of first.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, though, I just want to hear Austin have to say, "So chicken!"
With 79% of the vote. The vote is, so chicken!
Are you just a little bit ashamed of your cowardly
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think at this point
they did
now,
not cancel the game.
Over the last couple of years, I think now he's like emotionally checking out of that relationship. Dude, I seen your girlfriend out on the and I'm emotionally checked out of this relationship anyway. I mean, she can't hurt me anymore. Okay, she can't hurt me anymore.
Supplemental poll number 4. What are you most intrigued about watching on TV tonight? Is it the finale of The Bachelor? Is it more of the blind auditions for The Voice? Is it a new episode of Antiques Roadshow? Or is it the 3-hour documentary on street outlaws on Discovery?
Street outlaws. What is that?
Is that like the drag racer guys?
Yep, drag racing and street racing.
Okay, explain the antique thing to me.
Oh, Antique Roadshow?
What? You don't know about Antiques Roadshow?
Oh, it's fantastic. I get hooked watching that.
It's on PBS, and it's basically where these people bring in their antiques, their family heirlooms, and they get appraised by professional appraisers. And literally, they travel from town to town, and people bring in their old stuff and get it appraised.
Oh, God, that sounds horrible. My ex-wife used to take me antique shopping. Oh, God, in Micanopy and Macintosh, we'd go antique shopping. It was horrible. I'm gonna go with the finale of The Bachelor.
I'm going to watch. I guess of those things, I'd probably be most apt to watch Antiques Roadshow. I really like that.
Really?
Stuff. Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Nice.
People bring in stuff, and you're like, I think I have that in my garage. Hold on. $40,000?
What? Crazy. With 40% of the vote, the Antiques Roadshow wins this one. And finally, the open mic Would You Rather poll. Would you rather be better looking in person or better looking in pictures?
Believe me, as somebody who's been on Tinder and Bumble, all right, I prefer the better looking in person than the better looking in pictures, all right?
Yeah.
Because, first of all, I've put pictures of me that made me look much better than I am when I'm on these dating websites. So do the women who I've dated, all right? So I want honesty. I'd rather look better in person.
Yeah, there's a general rule in life: under promise, over deliver. So, like, if they see a picture of you and they're like, they're okay, but I'll meet them, and then you show up and they're like, whoa, hey, that's bad.
Yeah,
I mean you flip flop that where you see the picture and you're like, whoa, yeah, swipe right on that, and then you meet and you're like, are you sure that was you? What kind of filter is that?
Mike, I can't believe you didn't play your own game, how to turn this into a profitable situation. You know how much money Instagram models make? So damn much.
That's true, and you meet them, though, and they're not hot.
Hey, listen, you don't have to meet them. If you've got 1 million followers on Instagram.
What I'm saying, you're right, that those are the ones that look better in pictures than they do in real life.
Sadly, 98% of the vote doesn't go my way. They're saying, I want to look better in person.
I don't even take that many pictures.
All right, straight